don't, but most of it you're going to read. I even printed some stuff up on the back too. So I don't want to see no leftover lessons. Take them with you. Isaiah 5 and verse 20. What does that say?
Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil.
So woe unto them that call evil good. When you see something ill, that's woe, right? But when you see somebody calling evil good and good evil, that's woe too. And when it comes to woe with God, it's not good for you. So those that's calling, what was it, evil good? And what else?
And good evil.
And good evil, woe to you. Because the world is gearing up for this Thanksgiving. And we just had a big celebration that's attributed to the Lord called Tabernacles that nobody even cared about. Matter of fact, the so-called Jew changed the name. Instead of Feast of Tabernacles, they called it the Feast of the Booths. What is that? We know he's supposed to dwell in booths, but he didn't call it a Feast of Booths. He called it Feast of Tabernacles. So woe to you. Go ahead.
That put darkness for light and light for darkness.
That put the darkness for light and the light, which is the truth, they turn it into darkness. What else?
That put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter.
And they call sour Kool-Aid sweet Kool-Aid. And it ain't got no sugar in it, right? But they call it sweet. What else, man?
Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. Woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine and men of strength to mingle strong drink, which justify the wicked for reward and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him.
So they justifying the wicked for reward, and the righteousness that the individual has, they taking it from them. What else?
Therefore, as the fire devoureth the stubble, and the flame consumeth the chaff, so their root shall be as rottenness, and their blossom shall go up as dust, because they have cast away the law of the Lord of hosts, and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel.
So they cast away the law of the Lord, right? They threw tabernacles right out the window. And people are gearing up for something that you can't even read. There is no ordinance on how to do this. They just made it up as they went along. But we're going to show you, because America is Johnny come lately with all these holidays. People have been celebrating harvest festivals long before Thanksgiving Day came on the scene. And we're going to show you that. Flip over to Isaiah 24 and read one verse, verse 5, to show you why the world is in the state that it's in. Because they didn't cast away the law of the Lord. Don't nobody want to do what thus saith the Lord. Everybody want to eat cookies and potato chips. State of the Union, verse 4, what does it say? 5, I'm sorry.
The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof.
Why is the earth messed up?
Because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant.
They've changed the laws, broken the everlasting covenant. I was looking at the news yesterday where they're going to start implementing Bible stories in this Texas state, right? And everybody up in arms about that. What's wrong with that? You teaching them how to be sodomites when they're young, and that's bad. But you want to throw the Bible in, oh no, we can't have that. Woe to them. Psalm 106, man. They calling good evil. Teaching some kids good stuff, according to what thus saith the Lord, is evil nowadays.
First day, the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook. And ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days.
And you dwell in those booths for 7 days, which represent temporary housing. 7,000 years of mankind existing as flesh and blood. Because once the 7,000 years is up and you go into the 8,000 year or the 8th day, there's no more flesh and blood. We covered that thoroughly. What else, man?
And ye shall keep it a feast unto the Lord 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God.
So you're going to dwell in booths for 7 days. So Israelites and their generation will know that the Lord did this, because it means something. The Lord don't tell you to do something for nothing. It has a big meaning. He told you don't eat the pig, right? He telling you for that for a reason. There's a reason behind him telling you not eating that pig or that shrimp or that catfish or that octopus and all that other stuff he told you not to eat. There's a reason. It's one step on your way to being holy. It separates you, sets you apart from everybody else that's eating everything in sight. It makes you stand out. You are different. Verse 44, read that too, man.
And Moses declared unto the children of Israel the feast of the Lord.
So all these are the feasts of the Lord. Holy days important to him. If you notice, all this stuff we was reading, we didn't read it all. We could have read it all. But Christmas was not mentioned nowhere in there. And that's holy to a whole lot of people. Easter was not mentioned nowhere in there. And that's holy to a whole lot of people. And Thanksgiving wasn't in there either, because it's a harvest festival. And the Lord told you about his harvest festival, tabernacles. You dwell in booths. You keep it for 7 days. You have a good time. Where's Thanksgiving, man? How come it ain't in there? Let's look at holiday. It's on the back of the lesson. Let's see where holiday came from. I ran out of colored ink, so it's everything's in black and white, but y'all can still read it. Holiday, man. Start from the top.
A holiday is a day set aside by custom or by law on which normal activities, especially business or work, including school, are suspended or reduced.
Okay, so that's what a holiday is, right? Sometimes you don't go to work. Schools is closed. Stuff like that, right? What else?
Generally, holidays are intended to allow individuals to celebrate or commemorate an event or tradition of cultural or religious significance. Holidays may be designated by governments, religious institutions, or other groups or organizations.
Okay, so governments institute holidays, right? You got presidents' birthdays as holidays, right? Lincoln's, Washington, Martin Luther King. Then you got other things like Independence Day. Government say that's a holiday. And you got Veterans Day, you know, people that was in the military. I had a whole bunch of food that day, boy. I was eating good. Free food for the military veterans and active duty too. And you got Memorial Day, which is supposed to honor all the people that died in war, right? What else, man?
The degree to which normal activities are reduced by a holiday may depend on local laws, customs, the type of job held, or personal choices. The concept of holidays often originated in connection with religious observances.
So it started off religious, right? Because they couldn't keep it holy. They got to change a letter here and there so it don't be all religious, because holy day is religious. Holiday, it could be religious or whatever the government decides it is. What else?
The intention of a holiday was typically to allow individuals to tend to religious duties associated with important dates on the calendar.
So it started off religion once again. That was the reason for it. Holy days of obligation. That's what they called it. But go ahead, man.
In most modern societies, however, holidays serve as much of a recreational function as any other weekend or days or activities.
That's right. Big party. Now, 4th of July is a big party, ain't it? People be blowing their hands off and dynamite and everything else. On the 4th of July, barbecuing. Big celebration. What else, man?
In many societies, there are important distinctions between holidays designated by governments and holidays designated by religious institutions. For example, in many predominantly Christian nations, government-designed holidays may center on Christian holidays, though non-Christians may instead observe religious holidays associated with their faith. In some cases, a holiday may only be nominally observed. For example, many Jews in the Americas and Europe treat the relatively minor Jewish holiday of Hanukkah as a working holiday.
So they do this Hanukkah, right? I always mention them. The so-called Jew do this Hanukkah. Was supposed to be the festival of lights. This is something civil that they came up with. It's just a derivative of the dedication that was written in the book of Maccabees. That's all it is. It's the so-called Jew Christmas, in other words. But since it wasn't designated by God, there's pretty much no penalty for you not keeping it. If you choose to keep dedication or you don't choose to keep dedication, you ain't going to the lake of fire for doing it or not doing it. That's why there's some wiggle room on that particular day, because it wasn't instituted by God. What is that? The cooler? Give it an elbow, make it be quiet. Go ahead.
Changing very little of their daily routines for this day. The word holiday has differing connotations in different regions. In the United States, the word is used exclusively to refer to the nationally, religiously, or culturally observed day of rest or celebration.
So where did they get holiday from?
Etymology.
Yeah. Read it, man.
The word holiday comes from the Old English word holidag. The word originally referred only to special religious days. In modern use, it means any special day of rest or relaxation.
Read that again. You skipped something, man.
Did I?
The word holiday is what? What does that equal?
Oh, okay. Sorry. The word holiday comes from the Old English word holidag. Halig, holy, plus dag, day.
So that's where it came from. Holy day, holiday, Old English. Holiday, holy day. Go ahead.
The word originally referred only to special religious days.
And that was its intention. Holy day is religious, dedicated to God. Go ahead.
In modern use.
Now, fast forward.
It means any special day of rest or relaxation.
Now it means any special day. But you got to take the Y out of it. Go ahead.
As opposed to normal days away from work or school.
So they done took holy and turned it into Hali with an I. So now we got holiday, which could be anything, right? Somebody's birthday. Somebody that forgot you was a free slave 2 years later. That's a holiday too, right? Juneteenth. Whatever. Make anything a holiday, right? But they took the holy out of it. Now let's go to Exodus 23. Exodus 23. So we read Leviticus 23, what's important to the Lord. Let's see him reiterate it. Exodus 23 and verse 14. Exodus 23 and 14, because it was 3 times a year that the Lord required all the males to appear before him at Jerusalem. That's why wherever Paul was, we can read in Acts, he wanted to get there for Pentecost. Find it. I don't think I got it. Thanksgiving, we just looking at the definition of it. I got it right here. It's out the dictionary. Just Thanksgiving. We're going to get to Thanksgiving Day later. But let's read what Thanksgiving is. Read it.
Thanksgiving, the fourth Thursday in November in the U.S. or the second Monday in October in Canada.
So the Canadians have Thanksgiving on Monday. In October, the United States got it in November, the fourth Thursday. I tell you, they be making this stuff up, man. What about it?
Celebrated as a legal holiday for people to be thankful for what they have. A prayer that expresses thanks to God.
A prayer that expresses thanks to who?
To God.
It's God. I forgot the D. I'm sorry. But it's God, right? What God are you thanking if you participating in this with chitlins on the table? What else, man?
The act of giving thanks.
The act of giving thanks. Thank you, brother. That's thanks, right? Thank you. Go ahead.
A prayer expressing gratitude.
A prayer expressing gratitude. Who are you praying to? With the chitlins on the table. Go ahead.
A public acknowledgement or celebration of divine goodness, Thanksgiving Day.
A public acknowledgement or celebration of divine. Anything that's divine is associated with a God, people. Divine goodness. God goodness, right? What God are you thanking? That's all I ask when it comes to this day. Is it the God of Israel? Or is it that other Jesus? You got to figure this out, man. That's good. We'll get back to Thanksgiving Day later. Let's look at this, man. Out the History Channel. Only me and Saudi watch this. We the only two people that watch that channel. Used to be just me. Now it's two, so they can really stay on now. History Channel, Thanksgiving, they tell you all about it. We ain't gonna read it all, but y'all got it. It's in the handout. Thanksgiving, History Channel, read it. Sugar-coated version. Because they done started changing this stuff, man. They done gave us the Indians and the Pilgrims, and they all sitting around with this, and that, and everybody kumbaya and all that. They done found out that is totally garbage. Didn't happen like that. But that's what they want you to believe. But History Channel said otherwise. But they're going to give you the sugar-coated version. Go ahead. Read it, man. Yeah, read that.
Thanksgiving. In 1621, the Plymouth colonists and Wampanoag Indians shared an autumn harvest feast that is acknowledged today as one of the first Thanksgiving celebrations in the colonies.
Now look, these pilgrims that came up on the Mayflower, they had, what's that Bible? It was the, no. It was the Geneva Bible, yeah. They had that with them. And we read some of that. I got a copy of it too. And we read pretty much everything that's in the King James was in that too. But they came up, they want this Thanksgiving thing too, man. Read it, man. Read it.
For more than 2 centuries, days of Thanksgiving were celebrated by individual colonies and states. It wasn't until 1863, in the midst of the Civil War, that President Abraham Lincoln proclaimed National Thanksgiving Day to be held each November.
So Abe Lincoln put the stamp of approval on Thanksgiving Day. Abraham Lincoln. Flip the page over. Y'all can read the rest on your own. Thanksgiving traditions. Remember, y'all wanted this. Keep reading, man. Read some more. Just read from the top. Read the top. Thanksgiving traditions. This is what everybody did, right? Some of y'all still doing it. I hope not after you read all of this stuff. Read some more, man.
Thanksgiving traditions. In many American households, the Thanksgiving celebration has lost much of its original religious significance.
That's right. And it's originally religious people. It keep telling you religion, religion. But what religion? What God are you thanking? Go ahead.
Instead, it now centers on cooking
Cooking.
and sharing a bountiful meal with family and friends.
That's what it's all about now. That's the smoke screen for it. So they could commercialize it, you know. But you got to ask yourself a question, man. If it's all about religion, then what God are you serving when you got them chitlins on the table next to that clean bird? Read, man.
Turkey, a Thanksgiving staple so ubiquitous it has become all but synonymous with the holiday.
Turkeys and came out of hibernation, man. They've been dormant all year. All of a sudden, stores is packed full of them. And they be on sale, too. And once I get me some money, I'm going to get me about 3 or 4 of them and freeze them up. Because once this day is over, you ain't going to be able to find them. They're going to be extinct. Or they're going to cost $100 for a whole bird. Get them while they on sale. Get them. Read, man. I got to stop talking.
May or may not have been an offer when the Pilgrims hosted the inaugural feast in 1621. Today, however, nearly 90% of Americans eat the bird.
90%, man. 90%. What the other 10% eating? Go ahead.
Whether roasted, baked, or deep fried. On Thanksgiving, according to the National Turkey Federation.
What? I want that job. I want to be head of the National Turkey Federation. I won't last because I'll be ate up everything. But go ahead, man.
Other traditional foods include stuffing, mashed
Yes.
potatoes, cranberry sauce, and pumpkin pie.
Ooh-wee. Go ahead.
Volunteering is a common Thanksgiving Day activity, and communities often hold food drives and host free dinners for the less fortunate.
And that's when the homeless get to eat real good around this time. All the sinners do they one righteous act on this one day when everybody get together and make food and plates for all the less fortunate, and they done did their good deed for the rest of their life for one day. Ancient origins, man. Read it.
Thanksgiving's ancient origins. Although the American concept of Thanksgiving developed in the colonies of New England, its roots can be traced back to the other side of the Atlantic.
So the roots of Thanksgiving can be traced back way over there in Europe, people. The other side of the Atlantic. Go ahead.
Both the separatists who came over on the Mayflower and the Puritans who arrived soon after brought with them a tradition of providential holidays, of fasting during difficult or pivotal moments and days of feasting and celebration to thank God in times of plenty. As an annual celebration of the harvest and its bounty, moreover, Thanksgiving falls under a category of festivals that spans cultures, continents, and millennia. In ancient times, Egyptians, Greeks,
wait a minute. Egyptians, we read about Osiris, right? God of agriculture. Who else?
Greeks,
Demeter, the goddess. She was a god of agriculture, goddess of agriculture, harvest. What else?
and Romans.
Rome, Ceres, Saturnalia. God and goddesses of agriculture. Harvest time. Go ahead.
Feasted and paid tribute to their gods after the fall harvest.
They feasted and paid tribute to these agricultural gods and goddesses after the harvest. You got good crops this year. Ceres must have did it. Let's hold a feast for her. Did she? Back to the book, Matthew 5. We almost done.
All right, all right. Now, brothers and sisters, I know you heard that. Now, check it out. Hey, peace to my sister Sophia. Yeah, she said Brother Brian is the best. Yeah, that's my bro, man. That's big bro. You know, double honors to one of the coldest teachers, you know, and elders, in my opinion. And I truly look forward to meeting, you know, big bro Brian and, you know, the other brothers holding down the West Coast. Man, the troopers, the soldiers in the spirit, in the mighty spirit of the Most High. Brother Fontaine and everybody, you know, all the brothers that's there holding it down. Salute. All praise to the Most High. And peace to you, Sister Sophia. Now, brothers and sisters, we're going to get into it. For some reason, you know, and unfortunately, I did not hit the record button on this stream. So it looks like on Facebook and YouTube, it's going to be in two parts. But make sure if you're watching this second part on YouTube or Facebook, make sure, you know, you go back and look at the first part all the way up until it's over, and then come in and watch the second part, brothers and sisters. Just saying that because it looks like it's going to be in two parts. So now, after hearing that from the History Channel, from the horse's mouth, so to speak, you should know, and based on what we've covered, you know, throughout this segment, you should know that Thanksgiving, right, is nothing short of a harvest festival, which is in direct opposition to God's harvest festivals that he's provided in the scripture in Leviticus 23 that he has commanded his people to observe, brothers and sisters. So if you are not doing that, you are not worshiping God in spirit and in truth. And what we're going to do now is going to take a further look at these pagan origins by an actual pagan, right? So this is pretty cool because, again, we're going to have more proof. All right, so let's stay tuned and let's check it out. And we almost done. All right, so we're going to check this out. And I'm going to go back to our screen. Man, shout out to Brother Brian and our West Coast family. Much love to our brothers and sisters out there. All right, so now what we're going to do is go to this article right here, right? And this is from a sis, and she is, unfortunately for now, a pagan, a witch. Like, she's into alchemy, as you can see by the name of the website, Arcane Alchemy, right? But the thing is, I'm praying for her and for other people that's involved in paganism, you know, whether they Gentiles, you know, or Jews or whoever they are by nationality. I'm praying for this sister too, because you know what's a good thing about being a pagan? Once you read the Bible and once you look around and you see what the world is celebrating, you automatically know that these customs in the world that they call Christian or attribute to Christianity in mainstream religion is actually pagan and not Christian, right? So that's the really good thing, and that's why I'm going to continue to pray for brothers and sisters like this sis right here, right, who understand that Thanksgiving is pagan. And I'm sure the same goes for Easter, Christmas. I'm sure she knows. And I've met actual pagans and Wiccans and witches who actually will tell you, who understand the summer solstice, you know, the winter solstice, the equinox, the vernal equinox. They understand these things and know that, you know, the majority of your quote unquote Western Christianized holidays are indeed not Christian at all, not Eastern at all. When it comes to the ancient culture of Israel, it actually goes back to Babylon and paganism, and it's no different from Thanksgiving. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right into it. It seems like a really cool sister too. I'm going to pray she gets some understanding when it comes to serving the God of Israel, right? But what we're going to do is turn our mic off and get this video jumping, all right?
It's almost time for Thanksgiving, one of my personal favorite holidays. We're all familiar with the classic story of Native Americans dining with pilgrims, but our modern Thanksgiving has deeper pagan roots than you might be aware of. So let's dig into the history of this holiday and reveal some surprising pagan elements. In America, it's believed that the first Thanksgiving took place in 1621, but this is not the first time people gathered to give thanks for the autumn harvest. In fact, people have been celebrating the autumn harvest for millennia, and our Thanksgiving is just a modern incarnation of these ancient celebrations of autumn abundance. Now, most of our holidays, like Christmas and Easter, are a combination of both pagan and Christian traditions. Thanksgiving, on the other hand, doesn't have as much of a Christian influence. While Thanksgiving is not tied to any one specific religion, its traditions are quite similar to a number of ancient pagan harvest celebrations. For example, in ancient Rome, they celebrated the holiday of Cerealia, which honored the harvest goddess of grain, Ceres. Now, there are about 100 different harvest gods and goddesses from Greek and Roman culture, so it's pretty clear that celebrating the harvest was a key feature of their spiritual beliefs. Harvest celebrations were also vitally important during Celtic and Anglo-Saxon pagan times. In Britain, these traditions evolved into a holiday called Harvest Home. Historically, the date of Harvest Home differed each year as it was celebrated when all of the autumn crops were finally harvested. The final cartload of food was paraded through the town, and a big harvest supper was celebrated among the villagers. Apparently, these harvest suppers started to get a bit out of hand, and in 1867, they were described as unrestrained riot and excess. In addition to Harvest Home, a separate religious holiday called the Days of Thanksgivings was practiced in the Church of England, in which people set aside one religious day of their choosing to give thanks to God. So we get the name Thanksgiving from this Christian tradition, while the feasting we associate with Thanksgiving largely derives from the Harvest Home celebrations. Luckily for us Americans, our harvest Thanksgiving celebrations were never commandeered by the church, and as such, they remain pretty pagan to this day. Here in America, a lot of our imagery around Thanksgiving shows a shared meal between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans. It could definitely be said that this rosy view of our first Thanksgiving meal together is largely misleading and helps to obscure the many atrocities that the colonists committed upon the Native Americans. The Native Americans, like the ancient pagan peoples of Europe, understood the importance of honoring and respecting the harvest. And during the first American Thanksgiving that took place in 1621, the Native Americans paused to give thanks to the many spirits and deities that aided in the bountiful harvest. There are three key symbols that are common to Thanksgiving celebrations. You have the cornucopia, also known as the horn of plenty, the turkey, and corn. All these symbols were viewed as very important among pagan societies. Let's begin with the cornucopia, which was an important symbol in ancient Greece and Rome. A cornucopia is a horned-shaped basket that is commonly filled with harvest fruits and vegetables. This symbol goes back to a story from ancient Greece where a goat pulled off his horn and offered it to the god Zeus. This was a magic horn that would refill indefinitely with food and drink, ensuring Zeus would never go hungry. To give thanks to the goat, Zeus made the goat's image in the sky, which became the constellation we now know as Capricorn. The cornucopia was also incorporated in statues and money across ancient Rome and was often used in representations of the goddess of grain Ceres and the goddess of luck Fortuna. The cornucopia has even made an appearance in American currency. After all, the cultural identity of America is largely inspired by Greek and Roman culture and their systems of government. The next symbol I want to mention is the turkey, which is the centerpiece of the American Thanksgiving meal. Many Native American tribes view the turkey as a symbol of fertility and abundance. As a totem animal, turkey reminds us of the importance of our relationship with the land, as the land is the source of our nourishment and sustenance. Turkey feathers are also viewed as especially important and are used in ritual wear and in smudging ceremonies. So when we eat turkey at Thanksgiving, we are kind of celebrating the connection we have with the sacred land and animal spirits. Lastly, corn is often used as a symbol to represent Thanksgiving. Corn, also called maize, was a key staple among the Native Americans, and it played an important role in their spiritual beliefs as well. In some tribes, corn itself was seen as a spirit, and it often played a role in ceremonies. Historically, it is also believed that the Native Americans taught the Pilgrims how to grow and harvest corn, and without that knowledge, they would have probably never survived the harsh winters.
All right, brothers and sisters, man, oh man. So did you check that? Did you listen? Did you hear that? So if you were listening and you were paying attention, you would see that, and here's the article, by the way, The Pagan Origins of Thanksgiving. It'll pop right up if you Google it, right? And you can read everything she talked about on your own and do further research, okay? So, but if you were paying attention, you would know that this, just like we read from the History Channel, go figure, goes back to, right, ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome, where they've had harvest festivals, right? And this one is no different, brothers and sisters. It is an harvest festival. And the reason that that's significant is because the God of Israel gave us harvest festivals in the Bible, and none of them can be traced to what we celebrate on the last Thursday of November or in October like they do in Canada, right? And God actually gave us harvest festivals to celebrate, brothers and sisters. And so what we're going to do is show you that in Leviticus 23. And we're going to end it more than likely. We're going to end it in a few minutes. All right. So we're gonna go here, Leviticus 23, and we'll be done in a few minutes. All right. So there should be no excuse, brothers and sisters, as to if this day should be celebrated, and there should be clear evidence as to why this day is not celebrated by true followers of God, true Christians, right? Which start with God's church, Israel, or the Israelites. And that's why the title is Why Israelites Do Not Celebrate Thanksgiving, right? And let me put a side note out there for you, right? And something to think about. Now, when you look at Thanksgiving from a civil historical viewpoint, when it deals with the tragedy of war and extermination of the Native Americans by way of, the colonists and the early European settlers of this country, so to speak, this republic, right? Well, what you do here on a lot of on the defense side of many Americans in general, not just Israelites, people who know God and know the Bible, not just them, but people in general, obviously including Native Americans, who call the day of this day the National Day of Mourning, right? And so for those that do acknowledge the National Day of Mourning for the Native Americans, or in some people in, I guess, more colloquial or slang, we'll call it Thanksgiving, right? And for those who do that, you need to realize that is completely understandable. That is completely justifiable as to why you look at that and realize like that this is some folly, right? This is like wicked, or this is cruel. And how can you celebrate the extermination and the pillaging and the just the outright killing and destruction of a people, genocide of a people, the natives, of this land. And how could you rejoice and give thanks in a time like that when it was, brutal and all of these things? And I completely can, sympathize with that, especially with that truth and that logic. I completely understand. I completely get it. But what is a little bit deeper and something to think about is that is actually not the justification or the reason or the rationale behind why we as a church, and knowing who we are as God's chosen people, do not celebrate it, brothers and sisters. Because when it comes to celebration, in many instances, right, with a specific group of people, in a specific land, in a specific country, specific empire, kingdom. You need to understand history, understand even the Bible, that there is always going to be a victor, and there's always going to be an opponent who was defeated or who lost in that battle, in which someone is going to end up mourning and someone's going to end up celebrating. And you find this all across the board, right? You look at Independence Day, quote unquote, that was based on war, right? And you had, the quote unquote settlers, or again, if you want to call them colonists, if you want to call them the planter class, whatever the case may be, the people who, the groups who ended up claiming America as their own and establishing, colonies and, settling here. They celebrated the quote unquote birth of this nation, with independence in 1776 as a result of winning a war and being released from British control over this territory, over this land. So they were no longer under subjection to the British during this, Revolutionary War. And as a result, someone won and someone lost. And therefore, you have the celebration in that matter. Right now, obviously, when it comes to Israel, when it comes to black folk, Negroes, we were still enslaved. So again, it makes you, you should question why you even celebrate some things that even aren't tied to God. That just shows a lot of people are lost in the sauce, right? Especially our people who destroyed for lack of knowledge, right? Who's completely lost, even called the lost sheep. So talk about being lost in the sauce. But even going back to God's chosen people and back to Israel, because that's the center of the Bible and worship towards God. You got to remember that even here in Leviticus 23, God gave us, and even before this, when it comes to the children of Israel, God gave his people the Passover. And why is that significant to note in understanding the scope of Thanksgiving? Is because in the Passover, which God expects us to memorialize, to remember, to commemorate, to celebrate to this very day, right? Christ is even our Passover. So what happened back in, Exodus, being freed from Egyptian bondage, that was Christ showing us the spiritual aspect of being delivered from the bondage of sin and being freed by his blood, which shows faith in God. That's what the blood on the doorpost represented. Well, understand, in that acknowledgement of one of God's holy days, you got to understand that there was even a victor, a winner, right? A conqueror, a group of people who won in battle, and the people who lost. The people who won in this case was the Israelites, and the people who lost were the Egyptians. They ended up dead. Armies destroyed, dead. Firstborn sons and firstborn animals, like completely dead, slaughtered by God. And then God turns around and tells you to celebrate this. So again, that's why I said it's something to think about. It's not enough, or is gory or inhumane or unjust as it may seem. You got to understand that war is a part of life. We even had to go to war to get the promised land and to begin with. And when God comes back, he's coming back to invade the earth with war with his saints. Right? It's going to be the craziest movie that could never be made up, directed, produced, right? Well, God is about to produce this one, right? Reality is stranger than fiction, right? But that's how the world ends, with war. And in the Passover, we won that battle, that war, and the Egyptians lost, and we are to celebrate it. So just because the Indian, now I'm not trying to downplay, but just because they were massacred, that's not the reason why we don't, as a church, celebrate it. We don't celebrate it because if that's the case, then we shouldn't celebrate the Passover. Or people shouldn't celebrate the Passover. And God's saying, no, you need to celebrate the Passover. But the reason we don't celebrate Thanksgiving is because it is in opposition to God's word, which makes it idolatry, which makes it sin, because God has harvest festivals. And Thanksgiving ain't nothing but a harvest festival, brothers and sisters. It should not be celebrated. All right. So now, hey, what's up, Hezzy? What's up? Yeah, we booked. Fully booked. All praises, bro. You know, da. That's spirit talk. I don't have nothing for spirit talk yet, so I just do that. All right, but anyway, we about to get into how we at the end of this lesson, brothers and sisters. If you ain't peep it, check part 1. This is going to be part 2 because the stream broke up. But follow us as we conclude this lesson in Leviticus 23, and we'll see if the Spirit takes us somewhere else. I might end it with a video. We'll see. But I just want to show you the feast of the Lord. And as you, what you should know is that these feasts are all the feasts that God commands you to keep, which outline his plan of salvation. So you need to keep these days that he gave unto the Israelites, right? These are the holy days that show reverence for God, and these are the days that show the plan of salvation, and they are actually required for you to keep if you want salvation, because it is in alignment. It is the plan, the literal plan of God. So it shows your allegiance, your relationship, your connection, your faith in God. And that's what this walk is all about. So he says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, remember, this is the church that started in the wilderness with Moses and the children of Israel that you read in Acts 7, right? It says, speak unto the children of Israel, right? And say unto them, concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. So we just showed you through the History Channel and through an actual pagan sister that Thanksgiving is a feast. Obviously, we don't even have to tell you that. You know that. You know how greedy your butt was, and some people still are, that shouldn't be celebrating it, but still are. You know you feasting and being greedy, right? For no good reason, no purpose, right? On Thanksgiving, right? Eating unclean food, serving a God that you do not know, giving thanks to a God that you do not know. Because him that saith, I know him and keepeth not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. 1 John 2, right? So you don't even know what you're doing. But we know what we're doing. We know what we worship, because salvation is of the Jews. And that's why unto the Israelites it said, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord. Thanksgiving ain't one of them. Which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. See, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, Easter, that ain't holy. Those are holidays, and that's folly, brothers and sisters. Fake holy days, right? So notice how it starts, right, with the Sabbath day, because that's the weekly observance, the weekly holy day. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest. And holy convocation, ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. In all your dwellings, no matter where you at, right? And isn't that ironic how they try to play with Thanksgiving and make it a civil, federal holiday where everybody in the country, no matter what state you in, no matter where you at, you supposed to be off on this day, observing this day. This is a family day. So the state has made themselves and put themselves in the place of God, telling you how to honor God and when to worship God, when it's in direct opposition to what God is saying. And mind you, nobody is keeping what God is saying. Nobody's keeping his Sabbath, but you want to keep a day that man told you. Right? That's how you know it's false worship, because God didn't tell you to do it. Just like you can't change the Sabbath day and change it to Sunday, the first day of the week, when he told you clearly right here is the seventh day of the week. Just like you know that that is false worship, you should know that if man or anybody gives you another harvest festival when God already gave you a harvest festival, and you call yourself worshiping God at that time on that day in that season, you have to understand that just like with the Sabbath day, it's not what God told you or ordained or instructed. Therefore, it is false worship. It's not serving God, it's serving Satan. And you can't serve two masters. You see why Israelites do not celebrate Thanksgiving, brothers and sisters? So now he goes from the weekly to the annual, and he says, these are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which he shall proclaim in their seasons. Right? And the harvest is in the fall in this country, and that is a season, brothers and sisters. And we're going to show you that, hey, it starts here in the spring, in the beginning of, Nisan or Abib, and it says in the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. Right? So everything starts with the Passover at the beginning of the year, right? And you get down to the seventh month. This is the first month, right? You get down to the seventh month. That's when you get your last harvest festival. Your first one is in, for Pentecost, right? Which is 50 days, right? From your first fruits, which we know is Christ. So from 3 days and 3 nights after the Passover, brothers and sisters, right, you start your count around that time. And then 50 days later, that's when you get your Pentecost. That's the first harvest festival. And then you have tabernacles, right? So we're going to show you that. If we go back to the whole chapter, and we go over, and we still in Leviticus 23, where you have all the feast days of God, right? What does he tell you right here? Look what he says about his holy days that you should be observing. Not holidays, holy days. He says, and ye shall proclaim on the self same day that it may be an holy convocation unto you. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. Right? That's what we talking about, brothers and sisters. All of these days are the holy days that you're supposed to be observing, including the weekly Sabbath. Right? And what does it say? What does it say? It says, and when ye reap the harvest of your land. So we are talking about the feasts, the harvest festivals of God, brothers and sisters. When you deal with Pentecost or first fruits. That's why it's even called first fruits, harvest. Tabernacles, you're dealing with the end of the harvest, right? That's why it's called ingathering, because you're gathering the end of your harvest, brothers and sisters, right? And this is a harvest festival. So when you look at Thanksgiving being known and observed as a harvest festival, come on, what are you doing? You're in exact opposition to God. That's why it says that when you reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not make clean riddance of the corners of thy field. When thou reapest, neither shalt thou gather any gleaning of thy harvest. Thou shalt leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I'm the Lord your God. Look at Satan and how slick he is. You see how the poor eats on every Thanksgiving? Man, so it makes people feel like they think they're doing right, but you worship you know not what. See, Satan is very crafty, brothers and sisters. Very crafty, right? And that's why, you know, that was Pentecost. And then after Pentecost, you have trumpets, the memorial blowing the trumpets. That's what you read about in this verse. And then after that, you have atonement. And then after that, you have tabernacles, which is your last harvest festival of the year, brothers and sisters. Okay, so that's how that works. That's how that works. And so with that being said, what we want to do is show you that tabernacles even points to the end of the world. And even the first fruits, when you deal with the harvest festival of Pentecost, you actually dealing with the first resurrection, and that points to the end of the world as well. So what we're going to do is let's go to Revelation real quick, and we're going to end it over here in Revelation. Revelation 14, and this is what you need to do. This is what you need to understand. See? That's what you need to understand. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus, brothers and sisters. That is what true Christians need to be doing, based on what God gave the Israelites, because salvation is of the Jews, right? And if we keep reading, what does it say, right? Because you're not supposed to be doing the commandments of men. You're supposed to be keeping the commandments of God, right? It says, well, we're going to skip this. And it says, and I looked, and behold, a white cloud. Upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. That boy looking like Goku on the cloud, boy. Super Saiyan, right? That's how he coming back, right? With a bomb spirit for you. You know what you know about it, right? But anyway, it says, and another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice. He yelling, it's wartime, to him that sat on the cloud. What? He said, thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. So listen, people want to celebrate harvest festivals. If they not celebrating the harvest festival of the Bible, they're gonna be a part of the harvest when God separates the wheat from the chaff. And if you committing idolatry and serving other gods, all your harvest festivals that you celebrate and that's not of God, they're going to kill you. You're going to be destroyed. So you don't want that. You don't want that smoke. You don't want that smoke. It's coming up on the whole earth, brothers and sisters. You do not want that, right? And that's why we actually going to read something, because you don't want this. All right, you want to take heed right now while you can. All right, because while we here, see all this stuff go back to Babylon, And while we're here in Revelation 14, let's read it from verse 7. It says, saying with the loud voice, because the harvest represents the end of the world, represent judgment. Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven. See how you're supposed to worship him, like we showed you earlier, in spirit and in truth. What is truth? His law is truth. If you're not worshiping God according to his law, you worship him falsely. And if you worship him falsely according to idols, God's going to destroy you for that if you don't repent. That's why it says the hour of judgment has come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. See, these gods, Demetrius, right? Dionysus, Zeus, all of these gods, Ceres in Rome, right? Look, all of these gods going back to Osiris in Egypt, dealing with the gods of plenty and harvest and grain, right? Saturnalia, all of that goes back to Babylon, and that is false worship. God hates that, so you don't want to be caught up in that. And it says, and there followed another angel saying, Babylon is falling. It's going to fall. All these holidays are going to fall. It's fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. You don't want this smoke, literally, right? Because this false worship comes from Babylon, is directly opposed to God, because it's contrary to his word, right? And so what's going to happen, right? You end up following after this system, right? You getting marked spiritually, following after this devilish system, and you don't want that. And it says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, right, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb, right? And then it says, and the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day nor night, day and night, no Kid Cudi, right? Who worship the beast and his image, and who receive the mark of his name. And I'm telling you, just like with Ash Wednesday, Easter Sunday, Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday, Thanksgiving, the last Thursday in November, all of these days, brothers and sisters, point back to Babylon, and is marking you spiritually to put you asleep, to live in darkness, so you accept the mark of the beast. You need to come out of her, my people, now, while today is called today. Harden not your hearts. All right. So with that being said, not only is it pagan, right? Not only is it pagan, brothers and sisters, but even the history that they teach you in school is off. So we're going to end it with a video. I got this website called Lines and Precepts, and I did an article back in 2018 exposing Thanksgiving. We're going to just hit you off with a video from MTV exposing the junk, and it should be after this, after you've seen everything that you've seen in this lesson, it should be no way that you think that this is cool. All right, so now we're going to finish it off and go home with this one. All right, so peace to y'all in Jesus' name.
And I'm thankful for my kindergarten class who made these wonderful crafts to celebrate Thanksgiving.
After the Native Americans helped the Pilgrims survive their first winter in America, the Puritans invited them to share the first Thanksgiving.
Oh, these are adorably wrong.
A 5-year-old made that.
Based off of the lies that you taught them.
Excuse me?
Oh, it's not your fault. These are full of half-truths and historical propaganda.
I thought the Native Americans and the Pilgrims were like besties or whatever.
At best, the Pilgrims and Wampanoags could be described as political allies. By the time the Pilgrims showed up, not only were 2/3 of the Massachusetts tribes completely wiped out by European slave owners and diseases, the Pilgrims were constantly at war with the indigenous people and routinely tortured them.
But what about Squanto, the Native American who learned English to help out the Pilgrims?
He was actually a slave that was hauled off to Europe, and then he learned English so that he could escape.
But they did celebrate it every year, right?
Not exactly. The next one was 16 years later, and unfortunately, it was because the Puritans were celebrating the massacre of the Pequot tribe. Back then, Thanksgiving was also for families, specifically murdering them.
Okay, we get it. History's awful. The Puritans were terrible. And now we have to let our children know that the holiday started with tons of killings. Happy?
Well, we actually have just about everything wrong with the Thanksgiving myth. Definitely didn't wear these buckle hats. Didn't land on Plymouth Rock. And as for that turkey...
No, not turkey.
More like venison, fowl, and eel.
Oh, who cares about how the stupid holiday got started anyway?
Exactly. In George Washington's 1789 Thanksgiving Proclamation, the settlers aren't mentioned not even once. Thanksgiving wasn't celebrated nationwide until 1863 when this guy declared it a national holiday during the Civil War in order to bring the country together. That's why all of our foods are from the 19th century.
So Lincoln came up with the whole Indian Pilgrim story.
Nope, that myth didn't catch on till the 1900s after we had fought and killed all the Native Americans. And then we put it in textbooks as fact. Because America. But the food is really good. And if you ignore all the terrible history, like, the murdering, the raping, the pillaging, it's still kind of a great holiday.
So the Mayflower is a lie.
Why do we eat cranberry sauce?
What about stuffing?
Is Black Friday really just a capitalist conspiracy to get poor people to buy things so we can't truly live out a populist revolt?
Or is it?
I am never telling you the truth ever again. One historical narrative says that the Pilgrims were off...
Oh man, oh man. Yes, sir, brothers and sisters. Well, there you have it. This has been another episode with your boy. I'm Brother Joshua. This is ICOJ DMV, right? This is Israel, the Church of Jesus, brothers and sisters. And, this is what we do, right? So we bring out that truth from you from all angles, and we let you know that, hey, you must worship God in spirit and in truth, not according to lies, brothers and sisters, right? So we hope that you were edified and got some understanding in Jesus' mighty name, and we will see you on the next one, all right? If you out in the DMV area, come out on the Sabbath, which is the 7th day of the week, which is, we know it's Saturday, and come fellowship with us, come eat the spiritual word with us, and get some understanding for salvation. All right, with that being said, deuces, we out. Peace in Jesus' name. Hey, all praise to the Most High. Y'all know how we coming. Let's go.
Yeah. What? Paganism. What? We stiff-necked, we don't want correction, we hate to listen. Yeah. Listen. Paganism, paganism, paganism. We stiff neck, we don't want correction, we hate to listen. The Romans took Saturnalia and named it Christmas. That's their tradition. Did Christ keep it? That ain't in scripture. How about I paint a picture? All roads lead to Babel. Babylon, them idols can't even save you. December 25th, birthday to Nimrod. Son named Tammuz, wife / mother, her name was Ishtar. Need I say more to convince y'all? Jeremiah 10:1. Same tradition, way before Christ, where they get it from. Learn not the way of the heathen, the workmen with the axe, decking trees with silver and gold. Say you do it for the kids, they still in your soul. Sitting children in Satan's lap, hungers from trees like ornaments. Did you think of that? Let me take you back. A slave master asked his wife what she wants for Christmas. He said, let's take the biggest tree and have a public lynching. Tell me how we got in this position. Keeping these pagan days, you really a Christian? How about the feast days Leviticus mentions? The end's approaching, they fooled you, you didn't notice. High time, wake out of that slumber, we getting close. Yeah, the end is near. I'd rather die before I live in fear. Shalom. Paganism, paganism. Why? We stiff neck, we don't want correction, we hate to listen. Paganism, paganism, paganism. What? We stiff neck, we don't want correction, we hate to listen. Yeah. What? Screaming Black Lives Matter at the table of a pagan feast that celebrates genocide, to say the least. Father, thank you for these abominations we came to eat. Bow our heads and thank friggin' Thor. 100 million Israelites slaughtered, how we gon' win this war? A Roman calendar, Greek sports, Cowboys versus Redskins. I'm praying for my brethren on Thor's day, giving thanks to Odin for all the land that was stolen from my forefathers, yelling out black power with shackles on, reporting live straight out of Babylon. Let's throw a feast, we gotta celebrate this robbery. They all got eyes, but they blind to me. The curses of Deuteronomy, my people fit all the prophecies. Chapter 28, 31, happy Thanksgiving. No need for real change, there's so many slaves living day to day, running on the hamster wheel, FEMA camps, UN soldiers. They ain't scared to kill real life. We alive, but we dead for real. Young and heartless, numb to violence, scared to feel. We used to give them books, now we hand them pills. Princess popping Zans, serve my elder that Millie Rock, come and watch them dance. Put your girl on that boy and she dropped the class. Y'all ain't low, but I got to ask, are we only giving thanks cause we forgot the past? Paganism, 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 paganism. Why? We stiff neck, we don't want correction, we hate to listen. Paganism, 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 paganism. We stiff neck, we don't want correction, we hate to listen. Yeah, what?
Everything's everything when you seek what's heavenly. Wait in the water, wait, 'cause everything's everything.